The ship's warning alarm blared, jolting Sam Doolittle awake. He fumbled for his laptop, perched precariously on a makeshift shelf beside his cot, trying to silence the piercing noise that echoed through the cramped cabin. All right, I'm up," he grumbled, finally hitting the right key. The screen showed a flashing red box with white text. "ATM-mospheric entry imminent. Manual control required." Sam had cobbled together his ship's alert system from a standard consumer laptop running outdated navigation software. No fancy integrated AI, no voice controls, just a basic program he'd modified himself because he couldn't afford the real thing. The laptop wasn't even hardwired to the ship's systems. It simply received sensor data and displayed it. 5 minutes to entry, he muttered, reading the countdown timer. "Thanks for the warning, you glorified calculator." Sam rubbed his eyes, squinting at the view screen. Below the planet Kepler 438c, or Murphy as he'd taken to calling it, loomed large, its barren surface a monotonous gray-brown expanse of dust and rock. No water, no vegetation, not a hint of color to break the desolate landscape. A cold, wet nose pressed against his hand. Oreo, his border collie, had climbed out of her bed in the corner and was staring at him with concerned brown eyes. "It's fine, girl," Sam said, scratching behind her ears. "Just another day in paradise." Oreo wasn't convinced. She whined softly, her tail tucked between her legs. "Yeah, I know," Sam sighed. "But we've come this far. No point turning back now." He strapped himself into the pilot's chair, a salvage seat from a 2000 ADS ground transport that he'd bolted to the floor, and took manual control of his ship, the Longshot. The vessel shuddered as it hit the upper atmosphere, the heat shield glowing red-hot outside the view screen. "Come on, baby," Sam muttered. "Hold together." The Longshot wasn't much to look at, a cobbled-together mess of spare parts and salvaged equipment that Sam had spent every credit he had on. The engineers back on Earth had laughed when he'd proposed his design, said it wouldn't make it past Mars. But here he was, 3 solar systems from home, proving them wrong. Even if every landing felt like it might be his last, when the Longshot finally touched down on the surface of Murphy, Sam let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Oreo barked once, tail wagging now that they were safely on solid ground. "That's 7 for 7, Sam said, patting the console. "Not bad for a ship held together with prayers and duct tape." He unstrapped himself and stretched, bones popping. Living in the confined space of the Longshot for months at a time wasn't doing his back any favors. Sam was only 35, but sometimes he felt double that. The universe was opening up, and Sam Doolittle was determined to be remembered as one of its first true explorers. Back on Earth, the mega-corporations were finally putting together their expeditions. Massive ships with crews of dozens, cutting-edge tech, and unlimited funding. Within a decade, they'd be everywhere, mapping every rock and cataloging every speck of dust in the nearby systems. But Sam couldn't wait for that. He couldn't bear the thought of being just another cog in someone else's machine of discovery, relegated to a footnote in the history books. If he made it in at all. No, he wanted to be first, to find something, anything, that would etch the name Doolittle alongside Armstrong, Columbus, and Earhart in humanity's roster of pioneers. "Let's see what we've got out there," he said to Oreo, his explorer's itch already taking over. Every new planet was a chance at immortality. The planet's complete lack of atmosphere meant Sam had to suit up fully, not in the lightweight exploration gear he preferred, but in a proper sealed spacesuit. It was an older model, patched in places but still reliable. He helped Oreo into her specialized canine EVA suit, checking the seals twice. The dog waited patiently, used to the routine by now, though her wagging tail betrayed her excitement for exploration despite the harsh conditions. "Ready for walkies in the vacuum?" Sam asked as he secured his helmet and Oreo's tail thumped against the floor in response. The planet's atmosphere was breathable according to his scans, though a bit thin. The gravity was slightly higher than Earth's, which Sam could already feel weighing on his shoulders as he suited up. not in a bulky spacesuit, but in a practical exploration outfit, reinforced fabric, plenty of pockets, and a breathing mask just in case. Oreo waited impatiently by the airlock door, her specialized doggy EVA suit already secured. "Ready for walkies?" Sam asked, and Oreo's tail thumped against the floor in response. The airlock hissed open, and Sam took his first step onto Murphy. The ground beneath his boots was hard-packed gray dust, punctuated by jagged rock formations. No moss, no vegetation, not even the barest hint of microbial life, according to his scanner. The sky above was not a sky at all, but the infinite blackness of space, stars burning cold and distant without an atmosphere to soften their harsh light. Kepler 438, the system's star, cast stark, unfiltered light across the barren landscape, creating sharp shadows that seemed to cut like knives. "Not the most hospitable place, is it?" he said to Oreo through their helmet comms. The dog was sticking close to him, her movements slightly bouncy in the planet's lower gravity. But beggars can't be choosers. Sam was here for a reason. His long-range scans had picked up unusual mineral deposits in this region, the kind that could fetch a handsome price back home. Enough, maybe, to upgrade the Longshot's failing life support system before it gave out entirely. He pulled out his scanner and began a methodical survey of the area, Oreo trotting alongside him, occasionally wandering off to investigate something interesting before returning to his side. "Nothing but standard iron oxides so far," Sam muttered after an hour of searching. "Maybe the readings were off." Oreo suddenly stopped, ears perked up. She stared intently at something in the distance, then let out a low growl. "What is it, girl?" Sam followed her gaze, squinting against the setting sun. At first he couldn't see anything, just more rocky terrain stretching to the horizon. But then he noticed an odd reflection, something metallic catching the light. "Let's check it out," he said, adjusting his course. As they drew closer, the shape became more defined. It was too regular to be natural, a curved surface rising from the ground, partially buried in red soil. Sam's heart began to pound. A crashed probe, maybe? It wouldn't be the first time he'd stumbled across the remains of a failed Earth mission, but as they crested a small ridge, Sam stopped dead in his tracks. "Holy shit," he whispered. "It wasn't a probe. It was a ship. And not just any ship. A vessel unlike anything he'd ever seen before. Sleek and elegant, with a pearlescent hull that seemed to shimmer with colors that shouldn't exist. It was maybe 3 times the size of the Longshot, with no visible engines or thrusters. Yet it was unmistakably a spacecraft. And it most definitely wasn't human-built. Oreo whined, pressing against Sam's leg. "I know, girl," he said, his mouth suddenly dry. "I'm seeing it too." Humanity had been venturing into the stars for nearly 4 decades now, but in all that time, there had never been a confirmed encounter with another intelligent species. There were rumors, of course, unexplained phenomena, strange signals from deep space, but nothing concrete. Nothing like this. Sam approached cautiously, scanner held out in front of him. The readings were bizarre, energy signatures unlike anything in his database. The ship appeared to be intact, not crashed, but simply landed. And recently, too, judging by the lack of dust and debris around its base. "Hello?" Sam called out, feeling foolish even as he did so. "Anyone home?" Silence answered him. The ship sat motionless, its smooth surface unbroken by anything resembling a door or hatch. Sam circled the vessel slowly, Oreo sticking close to his side. The dog's hackles were raised, but she wasn't growling anymore. Just watching, wary but curious. About halfway around, Sam found what looked like an indentation in the hull, a subtle change in the surface pattern that might be an entrance. He hesitated, then reached out to touch it. The moment his fingers made contact, the surface rippled like water, and a section of the hull simply disappeared, revealing a dark interior. Sam jerked his hand back, heart hammering in his chest. "Okay," he breathed, tapped. He should go back to the Longshot, call this into Earth, wait for instructions. That would be the sensible thing to do. But Sam Doolittle hadn't flown 3 systems from home to be sensible. What do you think, Oreo? Should we have a look inside? Oreo tilted her head, ears perked forward now. She took a tentative step toward the opening, then looked back at Sam as if to say, "Are you coming or what?" "Guess that's my answer," Sam muttered. He switched on his suit lights and with a deep breath stepped through the opening. The interior was dimly lit by a soft ambient glow that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The air was cool and dry, with a faint metallic tang that tickled the back of Sam's throat. The floor beneath his boots hummed with a barely perceptible vibration. "Hello?" he called again, his voice echoing slightly in the empty chamber. "Anyone here?" Again, silence. But the ship didn't feel abandoned. It felt waiting. Sam moved deeper into the vessel, Oreo padding quietly beside him. The interior was minimalist, with smooth flowing lines and few distinguishable features. No chairs, no consoles, nothing that would indicate how the ship was piloted. "No signs of life," Sam muttered, checking his scanner, "but this place is putting out some serious energy readings. Whatever powers this thing is still active." They passed through several chambers, each as enigmatic as the last. In one, Sam found what looked like stasis pods, hundreds of them lining the walls, each containing what appeared to be different alien species suspended in some sort of clear gelatinous medium. Plants, animals, beings with no earthly equivalent, all preserved in a frozen state, alive but dormant. A biological archive of an entire ecosystem, perhaps even multiple worlds. "My God!" Sam whispered, his voice barely audible over the comm system in his helmet. He placed a gloved hand against one of the pods, feeling the cold even through his suit. Inside, a creature resembling something between an octopus and a fern hung suspended, its tentacle-like fronds perfectly preserved. "This isn't just a ship, it's a damn ark." In another chamber, transparent containers held what might have been seeds, eggs, or spores. Countless varieties, all meticulously catalogued in a language Sam couldn't read. An entire civilization's biological heritage, preserved against extinction. Oreo wasn't listening. She had trotted ahead into another chamber and was now barking excitedly. "What'd you find?" Sam hurried after her. The new chamber was different from the others. In its center stood a pedestal, and on that pedestal, a device, or perhaps an artifact. Unlike anything Sam had ever seen. It was roughly the size of a basketball, but its shape seemed to shift and change as he looked at it, never quite settling into a fixed form. It glowed with a soft blue-green light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Well, that's not ominous at all," Sam murmured, approaching slowly. His scanner went haywire as he got closer, the display flickering and showing impossible readings, energy levels off the charts, temporal anomalies, quantum fluctuations. None of it made sense. Oreo whined, backing away from the pedestal. "At least one of them had some sense. Maybe we should leave this alone," Sam said, but even as the words left his mouth, he felt drawn to the artifact. There was something about it, something that called to him on a level he couldn't explain. He reached out, fingers hovering just above the surface of the shifting object. "Just a quick look," he told himself. "What's the worst that could happen?" As his fingertips made contact with the artifact, the world around him exploded into light and sound. Images flooded his mind. Stars and planets, vast fleets of ships, beings of impossible form and beauty, a civilization that spanned galaxies, that had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe itself. And then, darkness, a creeping void that consumed everything in its path. A desperate plan, a last hope. When Sam came back to himself, he was on his knees inside his bulky EVA suit, the hard surface of the alien ship beneath him. His helmet's display flickered with warnings. Elevated heart rate, oxygen consumption spiking, core temperature rising. He forced himself to take slow, measured breaths, trying to calm his racing pulse. Through his visor, he could see Oreo pawing anxiously at his arm, her own canine-adapted helmet bumping against his spacesuit as she tried to check on him. "I'm okay, girl," he wheezed over the comm, though he wasn't at all sure that was true. His head throbbed, and his vision swam with afterimages of things no human was ever meant to see. The artifact on the pedestal had changed. It was now a defined shape. A dodecahedron of crystalline material, its glow steady and bright, and impossibly there was now text scrolling across its surface. Text that, despite being in no language Sam had ever seen before, he could somehow understand. Seed Vault Archive. Activation complete. Genetic template secured. Awaiting dispersion protocol. "What the hell?" Sam muttered, his voice echoing inside his helmet as he struggled to his feet. More text appeared. Caretaker presence detected. Preliminary interface established. Welcome, Inheritor. "I'm not," Sam began, then stopped himself. He took a deep breath, the sound loud in his helmet. "My name is Sam Doolittle. I'm a human from the planet Earth. I found your ship by accident." The artifact pulsed once. Species identification, human, genetic compatibility, 78.3%. Acceptable parameters for Inheritor protocol. Query, will you accept the legacy of the Arcadian Conclave and stewardship of the biological archive? Sam stared at the artifact, mind racing. This wasn't just a ship. It was some kind of vault or archive. And whatever intelligence was running it seemed to think he was qualified to, inherit something? "I think there's been a mistake," he said carefully, his voice slightly muffled by his helmet. "I'm just an explorer. I don't know anything about your conclave." No error detected. Inheritor selection based on proximity and compatibility. The legacy must continue. The ark must not be lost. The Devourers approach. Time is limited. Devourers? Sam felt a chill run down his spine, despite the temperature regulation of his suit. The visions he'd seen, the darkness consuming everything. What are the Devourers? Instead of text, the artifact projected a three-dimensional image into the air before him. A swarm of void black shapes moving between stars, leaving nothing but dead worlds in their wake. The image zoomed out, showing their path across an entire galaxy. A path that, with a sickening certainty, Sam realized was headed directly for Earth. The cycle repeats. The Devourers hunger. We fought. We lost. But the Ark survives. Will you accept the legacy? Sam's mind reeled. This was too much, too big. He was just one man in a second-hand spacesuit with a rickety ship and a dog. What was he supposed to do against whatever those things were? Oreo nudged his gloved hand with her helmet, grounding him. Even through the layers of their EVA suits, he could feel her presence, unwavering and loyal. Whatever happened, she was with him. "If I accept," Sam said slowly, his breath fogging his visor slightly, "what exactly am I agreeing to?" "You become caretaker of the Ark. You receive knowledge, technology, the keys to revive the thousands of species preserved within. You prepare your people for what comes. You survive. Perhaps you succeed where we failed." Sam closed his eyes, thinking hard. This was insane. He should walk away, get back to his ship, return to Earth, and let the authorities handle this. That would be the sensible thing to do. But Sam Doolittle hadn't flown 3 systems from home to be sensible, and he hadn't spent his life dreaming of discovery just to hand this, the greatest find in human history, over to some bureaucrat. He opened his eyes. "I accept." The artifact flared with blinding light, and once again knowledge poured into Sam's mind. But controlled this time, star charts. Technologies beyond human understanding. The history of a species that had explored the cosmos when Earth was still cooling from its formation. And the secrets of the stasis technology that kept thousands of alien creatures suspended between life and death, waiting for new worlds to call home. When the transfer ended, Sam was on his hands and knees, helmet pressed against the floor of the ship. Dehydration, elevated neural activity, suit power reserves dropping. Oreo paced anxiously around him, her tail tucked low inside her specialized suit. The artifact had changed again. It was now a small handheld device, easily portable even with his gloved hands. A gift. A burden. Transfer complete. May your species fare better than ours, caretaker. Go now. The signal of the activation will draw attention. The ship will remain in standby mode until needed again. Sam carefully picked up the device, the Arc controller, he supposed, and secured it in one of his suit's reinforced pouches. His head was still spinning with the enormity of what had just happened, but one thing was clear: he needed to get back to Earth, fast. "Come on, Oreo," he said, rising unsteadily to his feet. "We've got work to do." As they made their way back through the alien ship, Sam's mind was already racing ahead. Who could he trust with this information? How would he convince them? And how much time did they have before the Devourers arrived? He'd come here seeking fame, hoping to make the history books with some minor discovery. Instead, he'd been handed the responsibility for preserving thousands of extinct alien species and potentially the future of humanity itself. The ship's entrance rippled open as they approached, letting them back out onto the gray dust of Murphy. The black void of space stretched infinitely above them, stars glittering coldly. One of those stars was Sol, Earth's sun. Home. A home that was now in danger. Sam looked down at Oreo, who stared back expectantly through her helmet visor, her breath creating small clouds of condensation, blissfully unaware of the weight that had just been placed on her master's shoulders. "Hope you're ready for an adventure, girl," he said with a wry smile, "'cause I think we just found one bigger than we bargained for." With one last glance at the alien vessel, his vessel now, in a way, Sam turned and began the trek back to the Longshot. The universe had just gotten a whole lot more complicated, but then again, simple had never really been Sam Doolittle's style, and now he had the discovery he'd always dreamed of. His name would be etched in history books for generations to come. Whether that history would have a happy ending, though, remained to be seen. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to this story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.